My fellow Americans.
Take the red pill.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
The disastrous rise of misplaced power exists.
All we have built, all we have worked for, would be destroyed.
There is nothing the political establishment will not do.
And this nation will not be fully free until all its citizens are free.
Our arms must be mighty, ready for instant action.
These criminals cannot be rewarded.
So that no potential aggressor may be tempted to risk his own destruction.
There is a point beyond which they must not advance.
They're coming after you, and I'm just standing in their way. Here I am.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny.
The cost of freedom is always high.
Those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
This is a crusade! This is a holy war against the deep state!
We never wanted to be right, but yet things are all adding up to the firestorm.
I don't want nuance, I want bold colors, red, white, and blue. America, I have seen in the last several decades, absolutely fray and decline. When I saw those guys on the boats, on their knees, I mean, that says a picture about America that I haven't seen ever before. He's woken up a group of people, Neil, that have gone ignored. And Donald Trump, to me, is the last hope for America.
This country has such potential. I love the country. You have to have heart. You have to take care of women's health issues. You have to take care of poor people that don't have, that they're never going to have a shot. And you have to take care of African American youth who have never been in a worse position than they are right now.
We are standing up for America and for the American people.
There's a group of people in America that feel like they've been ignored. I know that for a fact. They feel like this country has let them down, and the left has hijacked, and some of the right has hijacked our nation. So this is what Donald Trump answers to. It's not anger, it's love of country. And they've all of the media is getting it wrong.
You can't let the critics and the naysayers get in the way of your dreams. Adversity makes you stronger. Don't give in, don't back down, and never stop doing what you know is right. Nothing worth doing ever came easy. And the more righteous your fight, the more opposition that you will face. The people built this country, and it's the people who are making America great again.
First jobs report of a full month of the Trump presidency showed the economy added 235,000 jobs in February. The unemployment rate dropped down to 4.7%.
More jobs available than people available to fill them. Never seen that before. See that from the Atlanta Fed? They're predicting 4.8% growth for the economy. That's huge. If you've watched this program, you'll know we have a generational low for unemployment, an all-time low for African American unemployment. That's historic.
Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. Relish the opportunity to be an outsider. Embrace that label. Being an outsider is fine. Embrace the label. Because it's the outsiders who change the world and who make a real and lasting difference. Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime.
North Korea is issuing a new warning to the United States. Korea warned of a super mighty preemptive strike.
Getting a good picture, everybody, so we look nice and handsome and thin.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
Young.
They will work toward the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula.
Breaking news, the U.S. economy added 304,000 jobs last month. That was way ahead of expectations, and it was despite a record-breaking government shutdown.
Over the course of your life, you will find that things are not always fair. You will find that things happen to you that you do not deserve and that are not always warranted. But you have to fight. We are all Americans, and we are all united by one shared destiny. So I'm asking everyone to join this incredible moment. I'm asking you to dream big again. Dream bold, big and bold. Dream big and bold and daring.
President Trump has ordered the Pentagon to pull all U.S. troops out of Syria.
We can make our communities safer, our families stronger, our culture richer, our faith deeper, and our middle class bigger and more prosperous than ever before.
Alarmed by the new calls to adopt socialism in our country. America was founded on liberty and independence, and not government coercion, domination, and control. We are born free, and we will stay free. America will never be a socialist country, but we must reject the politics of revenge, resistance, and retribution, and embrace the boundless potential. We must choose between greatness or gridlock, results or resistance, vision or vengeance, incredible progress or pointless destruction. Tonight, I ask you to choose greatness. I am asking all citizens to embrace this renewal of the American spirit. Seize this moment, believe in yourselves, believe in your future, and believe once more in America. I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down. The forgotten man and the forgotten woman. You're not forgotten anymore.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh. Welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose. Live with you Monday through Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This is where we bring you that unfolding global conspiracy, and a conspiracy it is. And day in and day out, the closer that we get to the 2024 election, the more that we begin to realize the truth in that statement, that this is absolutely an unfolding global conspiracy. Yep, that was from 2020, but it's a goodie still, I think. Now, tonight's show is called The Inevitable Revolution. Yeah, I said it. I think everybody is starting to see that they will never give power to Donald Trump. I've been saying it for years. They will scorch this earth before they ever give up power and control again. So with that being said, what can we expect? What are we expecting to happen? There's some talk today about a 28th Amendment, a constitutional convention of adding this in there. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, the prelude to all that and what is happening in the Middle East and what's breaking out. Now, I want to point some things out because I don't see any of the war pundits. I don't see any of the mainstream media. I don't see any of the generals. I don't see anybody saying anything about this specifically. Now, when Israel used the pager bombs, I made quite a few different posts on Twitter, on X. This was one of them. This was posted on September 18th. Said more batteries exploding for Hezbollah, reasons and intentions. Recent. Identify high-profile actors with affiliations to Hezbollah and connections. Preparations for next wave of attacks and ground invasion. Let me ask you, have we seen any of that happen? It's exactly what we've seen happen. So yesterday I was telling you about high-profile Hezbollah members who have been taken out. Mujahid Hussein Hassan Fakik Shadid has been killed, as well as Mujahid Mansour Karala, both killed, high-ranking Hezbollah members. Then we talked about this gentleman right here. This is Hezbollah's number 2, Ibrahim Akhil, taken out. And then what did we learn today? Oh, sure enough, Hezbollah confirms commander killed in IDF strike in Beirut. Hezbollah announces the death of Commander Ibrahim Mohammed Kobalesi, also known as Haj Abu Musa, in today's strike, another high-level Hezbollah member. Now, how come nobody is drawing the connection to say, how do they know where all of these Hezbollah members are? From the fucking pagers, people. Right? Think about it. They knew that Hezbollah was communicating in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So what do? They utilize an exploit to basically blow up, do a thermal runaway on all of these pagers that they know Hezbollah is using. They use their hackers to hack in probably moments before this attack, locate all the Hezbollah hackers, and then they send out this signal from their various different 5G antennas. Boom, the pagers explode. When the pagers explode, what happens? They identify every single person with a pager. Not only that, is the next level what happens next is those people who just had a pager blow up on them, whether they're high or low, but it was mainly high-ranking officials, they go out and they get a cell phone, they get a phone call or something, and they try to communicate with other Hezbollah members, right? So now they go out there, and Israel was tracking all of this. So what do we find out next? Boom, we have the walkie-talkies, the push-to-talks blow up. And we find cell phones and all different types of things blow up after that. Interesting. Days after, massive airstrikes all throughout Lebanon. And what do we find out is every single one of those airstrikes has killed a high-level member of Hezbollah. We told you it was going to happen, right? This is almost playing out exactly as we said it would happen. Now, that's scary because I don't want to happen what happens next. That's where the shit really gets thick and real, is that we have the Middle East on the brink of all-out war. Now, we talked yesterday how Donald Trump met with the Emir and Prime Minister of Qatar, and immediately after that, within hours, we have Iran asking Israel for a peace deal. Israel has declined, doesn't want anything to do with it. We saw the utilization of a massive, whether it's a mother of all bombs, utilized in Yemen. It, to me, looked like a tactical nuclear explosion. I've seen Moabs blow up before. That was not a Moab. Definitely a different type of technology than we've seen before. Probably tactical nuke. This has got the Biden administration, Blinken and all of them, pretty scared because the last thing that they need right now is a regional war breaking out in the Middle East, which they will have to quell real fast. But we're seeing that Iran is actually sitting back. They don't want anything to do with this. So Hezbollah has urged Iran to attack Israel, but Iran is saying, no, we're not going to attack Israel. Hezbollah is on their own. Now, what does this do? This puts Hezbollah in a very, very unique and precarious situation. They're being systematically eliminated. The IDF, Israel, Mossad, they know exactly where they are at. Everybody in their ranks within the Middle East. So Hezbollah has to ramp up their efforts. Any operations that they might have been saving, they have to start initiating them. They have to create a place of global chaos. Do they have the capability to do that? I think they do. We'll talk a little bit in a little while about potentially what we could see here in the United States of America could come about from that. Now, last year, Game Tech and myself on this show had a discussion where we talked about recorded conversations with a Department of Homeland Security member who was running various different drills and exercises in Kansas City, Missouri. I didn't know if you guys knew the state, but the Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, has been running various different exercises throughout the country over the last 2 years. These are mass casualty exercises, predominantly dependent upon weather phenomena or other types of events like loss of power that can produce mass casualty situations, and how FEMA will actually handle it. Game Tech and myself warned in and around a year and a half ago that you are going to see this type of event most likely come about in the next few years. Now, Let's listen to what Tucker Carlson actually has to say this. And this is a Game Tech post. I'll read Game Tech's. He says, I've been warning of blackouts over the year when I got the heads up from an imminent attack. Now everybody is reporting it. I tell people I'm ahead of the game for a reason. I don't report anything for sensationalism or attention or engagement. I report the truth, and I try to warn you all before it becomes mainstream. Absolutely. And that's what we've done on this show, Game and I, when he comes on. Listen to this.
The outcome that they're going to do something like that. Really? Absolutely.
I
Everyone's
saw
like,
Lindsay-
oh, they could send an ICBM or whatever. No, why would they bother to throw a missile at the United States across the ocean when they could unplug the country? And then you have real casualties, and mass chaos, like true chaos.
Oh, yeah.
People are not prepared for this. They haven't thought it through. Our leaders have not prepared them for it at all. It's like, oh, it's on your iPhone. You don't have an iPhone, and there's no electricity, and there's no water, and there's no way to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Come on, dude. And that could happen. That's not science fiction. Like, that could happen soon. The outcome that they're going to do something like that.
Really?
Absolutely.
So that's Tucker Carlson, someone who's in Trump's inner circle, who has the ear of the former president, soon to be next president. Today, we learned that U.S. lawmakers are planning for a possible mass casualty event, proposing a new constitutional amendment to replace members quickly and change various lines of succession in a national crisis. This is incredibly interesting. Scared by violence, lawmakers plan for possible mass casualty event. A bipartisan group of 4 House members are advocating for a constitutional amendment allowing for the quick replacement of Congress members in the event of a mass casualty attack. Representative Derek Kilmer, Democrat, Washington; Brad Wenstrup, Republican, Ohio; Representative Timmons, Republican, South Carolina; and Emmanuel Cleaver II, Democrat, Montana, put forth a proposal to ensure that Congress can continue its work if a large number of members are killed in a mass attack. The amendment would require House members to provide a list of potential replacements to their state's governors. Filling vacancies quickly would help maintain stability and deter political violence. However, passing such an amendment is challenging due to the need for 2/3 congressional vote and state ratification. Richard Primus, a constitutional law professor at the University of Michigan, suggested lawmakers should consider changing the Presidential Succession Act, which includes the Speaker of the House and Presidents pro tempore of the Senate in the line of succession. And he's absolutely right. Now, this is where this gets scary. What are they afraid of? Number 2 part of that, and why it's scary. Would you put it past the deep state and the global cabal? Let's assume the 2024 election happens. This constitutional amendment, the 28th Amendment, is added. There's a constitutional convention. They make it pass through fast. It happens fast. Donald Trump gets elected November 5th. January 20th, he comes into office. We have a full House majority. The Senate and the House are both Republican controlled. Mass casualty event in Washington, D.C. Majority of House members and Senate perish. That amendment goes into effect, and they replace them with all deep state operatives. It would be an immediate coup with unelected officials, one fell swoop. See, something like that incentivizes those mass casualty type of events, especially for a global cabal or a deep state that is losing power. Now you begin to see why something like that is coming around. Now, let's talk about this, because number one is Hezbollah is getting eliminated, and they're not going to go down without a fight. We're seeing them fight regionally, but they're about to stretch out beyond that region. What do I mean by that? You're about to see global terrorism come about through Hezbollah sleeper cells. I say that because they're desperate right now to garner attention. And they know, as well as what we know, is a Hezbollah false flag event, a Hezbollah sleeper cell terrorist attack in the United States would spark a larger response by the United States of America against Iran, because it would be utilized and blamed on Iran. Hezbollah knows this. They've asked Iran to get involved. Iran said, nope, we're not going to get involved. We know from Tom Bensman, Hezbollah Unit 910 is already in the United States of America, thousands upon thousands of members throughout our city's sleeper cells. We know that they've been getting weapons, armaments, and munitions, including rocket-propelled grenade launchers, from the Sinaloa cartel, which is a lot of leftovers from the Eric Holder Fast and Furious Barack Obama scandal that happened back in the 2000s. Now, yesterday I talked about 4 RPGs, 8 IEDs, along with large amounts of ammo discovered at a scout site in Mexico, just across the Arizona border. 8 months ago, here, 20 minutes from my house in Shakopee, Minnesota, a illegal immigrant, I'll call it an illegal immigrant, was found in his house with RPGs, IEDs, fully automatic rifles. They were serving a warrant for something completely different, and they happened to find his weapons cache. They are all over our country. They are all over our cities. Now, in the talk about a mass casualty event, you can have a mass casualty event to where there is a streamlined terrorist event that takes place. You could have like a Cat 5 hurricane, which is probably going to hit Florida here soon, rush through, and that's going to minimize in a geographical area. But the quickest, easiest, and most efficient way for them to produce a mass casualty event goes about with something that we don't necessarily talk about. And I want to pull up this report, see if I can find it, because where is it? I think this is the one. No, that's 2005. Well, in December of 2022, actually, U.S. power grid more vulnerable to crippling EMP attacks under Biden. This is January 28, 2021. Joe Biden's decision to undo President Trump's ban on China's involvement in the U.S. electric grid gives the communist regime and Chairman Xi Jinping a backdoor opening the attack to America's electric supply. Remember, Biden brought China back in. Now, in that same year, December of 2021, the Biden administration went out there and they did a national exercise on what would happen if an EMP hit the United States of America. And what they were looking at specifically was not just like a foreign EMP. They were looking at a full grid collapse and failure, as if a sun solar flare hit this planet and knocked out the entirety of the U.S. electric grid. They estimated that the damage done from that type of EMP attack would take 6 to 18 months to remedy. That most people would be without power for 9 to 6 months. They state within the first 90 days, and this is your government's words, not mine, 85% of the U.S. population will have died. 3 months. And that's access to food, medicine, electricity for whatever means, the chaos that ensues, the aspect of survivability. So the Biden administration knows the consequences of something like that. They're prepared for that. They've also stated that they're not going to do a peaceful transition of power. Now, there's also another precedent that is being set here. Adam Schiff, the little Adam Schiff, who has a former Gang of Eight member and hell-bent on taking Trump down, said about 8 months ago that you are going to see your first wave of deepfakes and AI in the 2024 election. Now, we have rumor that the October surprise is going to be a deep fake audio released by the former producer of The Apprentice on Donald Trump, where he's putting out there racist slurs. Even if he did do it, it doesn't matter. but they're still going to do that for the October surprise. Now we're finding from U.S. intelligence, China, Iran, and Russia, oh, interesting combination there, are using AI to spread disinformation ahead of the 2024 election. Foreign actors are leveraging AI to create misleading content aimed at deceiving American voters before the November election, according to U.S. intelligence. Russia is leading these efforts with AI-generated text, images, and video, while Iran and China target anti-democracy narratives. The intelligence community stresses that AI serves as an influence accelerant rather than a game changer for disinformation campaigns. So, you remember when I proposed, and we're not done talking about mass casualty and social destabilization here, but I want to propose various different scenarios that we could see actually come about here. You remember when I said everything hinges on January 6, 2025? We know that the Biden administration is not going to do a peaceful transference of power on January 20th, 2025. We know that Donald Trump is going to overwhelmingly win on November 5th. There is no way that they can stop that. Remember, nothing can stop what's coming. I said that the only way that they could cheat is if they steal a few different House seats. Now we're seeing various different poll results showing that the House is going to flip Democrat. Don't believe it. You remember 16 Republicans are retiring this year, not seeking re-election. They also took money from big DNC PACs. Now, of all those different seats, a lot of them are contested seats, as in they range between 49 to 51% between the Democrat and Republican candidate. Those seats right there specifically would be the ones that, if anybody wanted to steal one, they would steal those elections. Why? Because you only need a few thousand votes to shift the vote in your direction. You don't need millions. You don't need hundreds of thousands. So my thoughts are that in November 5th is that there is going to be a targeting of various House seats to try to take back the House of Representatives. That's critical for the Democrats because on January 3rd, the new House of Representatives will come into power, and on January 6th, they'll begin the certification of the election. The results are actually sent to Congress on December 16th and certified once and then recertified again on January 6th. Why? There's two Congresses. There's the lame duck Congress, and then there's a new Congress. So they do that certification process twice. Now, the second time around, what you're going to begin hearing is how Russia, China, and Iran interfered with the election, how Russia, China, and Iran helped Donald Trump win, how Donald Trump cheated in the election. And they will utilize that as the methodology to send the election results back to the states. And that'll be on January 6th, and they'll use that as the reason why they will not do a peaceful transference of power on January 20th. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's going to spark a revolution, Josh. Yeah, it would. Absolutely it would. Not only would that spark a revolution, is that a 10th Amendment civil war would rise up from that. What's a 10th Amendment civil war? Where all of the red states that are loyal to Trump, if you want to look at it like that, would band together and start forming lawsuits against the federal government. They would utilize the Supreme Court, sue the federal government for no peaceful transference of power. And this time, the Supreme Court wouldn't be able to ignore it because each one of these states would have a piece of this action. They would have some type of loss or gain with this. Now, the states would do that. And what would happen is this would be put on hold for a while. So the states during that time would no longer recognize federal authority. They would start taking over federal lands. They would start kicking federal employees out of their states. And they would band together into some type of union. And this is where that cold civil war actually begins. Now, would there be conflict? Would the Biden administration become a dictator and now move the military into those states? I don't know. It's too early to tell that type of stuff. This is a hypothetical scenario. But what I can tell you is that in and around that time would be the perfect time for an EMP type of event, as well as mass chaos ensuing within our cities. If you're new here to the Red Pill Project, we have been talking for about 4 years now, something called the Firestorm event. This is social destabilization, cultural destabilization, political destabilization that occurs. It is a color revolution that is ran through information dissemination and warfare, through psychological warfare that seeks to disrupt supply chain and take down the infrastructure of a country through the various points of destabilization within the core functions of a society. Once that is incurred, then you have all out global economic collapse that ensues, because if the US economy fails, the global economy fails, and World War III that begins to break out. We are very close to that point. Now, with an EMP type of event, I've talked about this before. 2014 in California, 2 Chinese nationals were arrested and later released for firing a high-powered rifle at a certain transformer utilized within the electric grid. They missed. 2 years ago in North Carolina, and then in Oregon, in Washington State, 3 different states in the United States, various people used high-powered rifles to shoot at one specific transformer in the electric grid. One of them actually took out power for a large amount of people. States like Texas have overutilized electric grids to where they do various different types of grid shares, where they share their electric power with neighboring states. Those neighboring states do the same thing. What does that tell you? It tells you that the majority of the electric grids throughout the United States of America are all interconnected. There are 6 points of major interconnectivity in the United States of America. During Donald Trump's first term in 2018, there was a massive blackout throughout Massachusetts and the New England area that I believe lasted for almost a week and a half, 2 weeks. The one component part that blew up during that blackout is a transformer that is specifically built for that power line, for that power grid in that part of the country in China. Why? In 2008, President Barack Obama signed an executive order authorizing China to come into the United States electric grid. On top of that, China took over the manufacturing and processing of tons of component levels of our U.S. electric grid. In 2018, after this event, it was on back order for over 6 months before the United States could get another one of these devices. Luckily, they were able to take one of those devices that were in excess from another state, reconfigure it to make it work there. What I'm trying to tell you is that there's 6 points of failure for the cost of $2.80 for some high-powered rounds out of a rifle and some big old fucking balls. 6 people around this country could coordinate together and take out the entire power grid with single shots. And they could do it tonight. They could do it tomorrow. And here's the thing is these electric plants where these things are located are not secure. There's chain link fences around. Anybody could hit it with a rifle. So when they talk about that we could have an EMP, potentially we could. But wouldn't it be more suitable as if they just blew the electric grid at those 6 points of configuration, then blamed it on an EMP and said that it was Iran or China or Russia to instigate a larger war? Because once they have the larger war, then they get to implement the draft. Once they have the draft, all able-bodied men and veterans go across the sea to fight a war. Once that occurs, our cities are desolate of able-bodied men able to defend the country. And then you have the rise of illegal immigrants and gang violence that begins surging in the United States of America, and our cities become completely destabilized and begin to fall and crumble, especially after an EMP attack where nobody has electricity or power. What I'm trying to tell you is that we're in a big fucking pickle. I'm drinking coffee, by the way. We're in a big pickle. And that the world is on the brink of absolute chaos. Now, I look at chaos differently than a lot of people. I look at chaos as in in-between point between, I look at chaos as an in-between point of optimization to where one system is no longer feasible to sustain. And so it begins retransforming itself into a new system. The question is, what is that new system going to be? I gotta get some water. Got some medication in there. It's not medication, just herbs, people. Just some herbs. My allergies been acting up. But all right. So what Game Tech is talking about, what Tucker is talking about, what a lot of people are talking about, why the talk of this 28th Amendment can come up is because we have the possibility to where absolute global chaos begins to happen. World War III breaks out, global pandemic, global economic collapse, EMPs utilize tactical nukes. Don't mean to scare people, but I'm calling it as it is. That is how afraid they are of Donald Trump and you. I want you to see the finer point here. The reason they are doing this, the reason they are escalating all this, the reason they have all these possible scenarios, ammunitions that can be expended, because Donald Trump is a threat to the international global order, to the deep state. And further from Donald Trump is that he has an army of hundreds of millions of people, and they know it. Not only do they know it, they're more afraid of you and I than they are afraid of Donald Trump. Because what happens when you and I begin to investigate things? We begin to research things. P. Diddy gets taken down. Oprah is next. We're seeing massive Hollywood actors and actresses and various people in the music industry deleting their Twitter accounts. We're seeing people like Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell be taken down. That's what happens when public knowledge starts looking at these things that have been hiding in the dark. Now, this is interesting. From Congressman Nick Langworthy. ActBlue has been funding questionable donations in the Democrat campaigns for far too long, raising serious concerns about fraud and illegal contributions. Today, he has launched an investigation alongside Chairman Comer and the GOP oversight. They will not tolerate any shady practices, foreign interference, or blatant exploitation of campaign finance laws. The American people deserve to know what's really behind these contributions. It's about time. And they better damn well find it, because you know what? James O'Keefe has found it. Crowder's found it. Everybody's found the corruption within ActBlue. Now let's see if Congress can find it and uncover it and actually prosecute people based upon this. Now, I've always talked about the War of the Roses, how we have a multi-headed Hydra. Each head is a different faction. Each faction has their own ideology, and they're a continuous war with each other. But now it's all out war, and we're seeing some of these factions being eliminated. More so is their power is being pulled away from them and transferred to other people, and so they're going to utilize their power while they still have it to basically produce chaos to try to preserve that power. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance both made comments about a week ago pertaining to Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, that they're eating dogs and cats. Now, as interesting as that comment is, there was actually no evidence to substantiate that they were eating dogs and cats, even though we've had police reports. We've seen videos of American citizens, African-American black woman in Canton, Ohio, eating a cat. And we've had various reports from people in Springfield and surrounding areas. But we do know that Haitians eat dogs and they eat cats and they utilize them in various different rituals. Not all Haitians. Lots of Haitians are really good people, very educated people, incredibly smart people. But there are parts of their culture that do that. Haitian Bridge Alliance is a nonprofit that has filed a lawsuit against Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, claiming that their harmful comments have produced violence against the Haitian community. Now, what's interesting about this? I'm going to pull this up. So the advocate group has accused the former president and his running mate of egging on violent threats and harassment against Haitians. Oh, interesting. The Haitian Bridge is founded and operated by a woman by the name of Gerline Joseph. She's a human rights advocate who dedicates her life to bringing awareness to issues that affect us all locally and globally, such as immigration, domestic violence, sexual child abuse, and other human rights. She was Political's 2021 most influential people in race, politics, and policy. This is where you start seeing the connections. Who is the Haitian Bridge Alliance? I've never heard of them. Haitian Bridge Alliance? This like seemingly came out of nowhere. America's 2021 Border Heroes Award in Las Vegas was awarded to Miss Joseph by the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Foundation, and she received the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Award. That's interesting. So she has a connection to the RFK Foundation. Sitting on the board of directors of the Haitian Alliance is Wade McMullen. He's an experienced human rights lawyer with legal and advocacy work in service of grassroots activists and social justice movements has spanned the globe. Wade currently serves as a senior vice president of programs and legal strategy at the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Foundation. Whoa, hold on a second. So this woman wins an award from a foundation who has one of their top senior vice presidents on the board of directors of her foundation. Well, who's the RFK Human Rights Foundation? Oh, well, that's Kerry Kennedy's foundation. And Kerry Kennedy, in her own voice on September 24th, 2021, yesterday I had the honor of accompanying my dear friend, Gerline Joseph, executive director and founder of the Haitian Bridge Alliance, to bear witness to the human rights abuses occurring in Del Rio, Texas. Kerry Kennedy is the 11th daughter or the 11th child of RFK, Robert F. Kennedy. That is RFK Jr.'s sister. And no association. They're kind of estranged. She doesn't like RFK. She doesn't like Donald Trump. And her good friend that they've done a lot of work. So, by the way, Haitian Bridge Alliance is a proxy nonprofit organization of Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights that they utilize for all their Haitian relief. Now, the Haitian Bridge Alliance came about after the scandal of the Clinton Foundation in Haiti after the 2007 earthquake. Now, just so happens that Kerry Kennedy and Hillary Clinton are very, very close, really good friends. Not even coincidental is that the Clinton Foundation has given the RFK Foundation multiple awards, Kerry Kennedy, and grant money. And guess where they have collaborated actions in? Haiti. Clinton Foundation and Robert F. Kennedy Foundation through the Haitian Bridge Alliance operated in Haiti. So it's interesting to see that that organization is suing Donald Trump because now it's politically motivated. Now it becomes a direct line of political interference. I don't care how many proxies there are. It's there. On the other side of the house, the judges ordered the sale of Alex Jones's InfoWars to pay Sandy Hook families. Now, Alex Jones is a smart guy. Prior to this lawsuit, I assure you that Alex Jones went out there and started moving assets around to various different companies. If he was smart, he held InfoWars in a limited liability company, which basically was just the shell of the company with various assets that are only included there for tax reasons. And then InfoWars itself was most likely held by another holding company, probably Prison Planner or one of Alex's other companies. Pretty sure that's how he arranged it. Either way, I don't think you're going to see InfoWars leaving anytime soon. The domain might be the only thing that changes. But this is a massive precedent being set by the Department of Justice and these deep state globalists attacking people like Alex Jones. Don't care if you like him or hate him. That's a scary precedent to set because that is persecution of the First Amendment. Alex Jones didn't create Sandy Hook to occur. Alex Jones didn't bring about violence onto the families of Sandy Hook members. He questioned the official narrative. He propagated various clues that he found and other researchers found and talked about it openly in a public forum. And he was sued for $1.2 billion because of that, for defamation. No defamation was done. There's no injury. But because of the death of their children, they utilize that as a methodology of injury. Molly Hemingway here on Twitter. This is impeachable offense on the part of the Biden-Harris administration and dangerously reckless move by Zelensky's part to campaign for Harris in a battleground state on U.S. taxpayers' funds. That's right. President Zelensky was in Pennsylvania yesterday. He got flown into Pennsylvania on an Air Force C-17, which is from the military. The Biden administration paid for that visit, and he went to Pennsylvania to meet with Governor Shapiro to campaign for Harris. Where's the Federal Election Commission? Where's the outcry? Because that's an impeachable offense on the Biden administration and the Harris administration. Here we go now. The FCC just illegally gave away control of America's broadcasting to a foreign finance billionaire who is anti-conservative. The board, which consists of 3 Democrats and 2 conservatives, voted 3-2 to approve the deal of George Soros's company to acquire over 230 U.S. radio stations. Under foreign law, foreigners cannot own more than 25% of U.S. broadcasting. Soros will now own the stations that play Sean Hannity, Dana Loesch, Mark Levin, Glenn Beck, and Eric Erickson. He will have the power to silence them all. This is just another step into a one-party state that evil dictators such as Soros are trying to implement. When will people wake up? And thanks for Travis for Trump on X for posting that. George Soros just bought out almost the entire radio network of the United States of America. And yes, he is going to censor conservatives. Yes, he is going to do with it what he wishes. He is going to run Democrat ad campaigns for politicians on Sean Hannity is what he's going to do. Now, we are coming to that critical juncture right now. September is almost over. October is about to begin. Not only are we going to see an October surprise from the Democrats, which we believe is going to be leaked audio of Donald Trump talking racist slurs or sexual harassment to various people, which will probably be AI generated. But also Donald Trump has got something up his pocket. Now, we've heard about the red folder. We've heard about the binder. That is the Trump card that is being waited to be utilized. Towards the end of October, I believe that we are going to see the release of certain information that is going to come out that is going to end the deep state and Kamala Harris campaign and everybody else associated with it. Now, what's interesting is we start seeing other information out there pertaining to P. Diddy. And let me pull this up real quick. P. Diddy's ex-bodyguard claims disgraced rapper has secret tapes of top politicians at his freak-off parties featuring thousands of bottles of baby oil and lubricants. So his former bodyguard has revealed the mogul retained tapes of big politicians partaking in the infamous freak-off parties. Now, this bodyguard is not an idiot. This bodyguard would not say those things, talk about politicians, unless he had a copy. Keep that in mind. Because P. Diddy wasn't only just having freak out parties where people got drunk and stoned and drugged and raped and gangbanged and orgied and locking people up for days at a time. They were doing the other stuff too, people. They were doing the deep, dark, nasty shit, the sick shit. They had little kids in there. it goes worse, they got videos that will bring down the political infrastructure of this country, from California to New York to DC. Now, I don't know if they're collaborating with Donald Trump, if there's communication going on there, but we will see. Now, I do believe that we will see an October surprise from Donald Trump. What is it going to be? Well, October is an interesting month. We shall see. Is it going to be UAP, UFO information? Is it going to be damning information on connectivity to Hillary Clinton in 2016 and CrowdStrike and the servers that tried to steal the 2016 election? Is it going to be the 555 raw video, the connections to adrenochrome, human trafficking, child sex trafficking between various different politicians? Is it going to be smut films put out there about politicians that will be claimed to be deep fakes and AI generated, which will actually be real, that are released from P. Diddy's library or from Nancy Pelosi's laptop? I think we're going to see something of that nature coming to fruition next month. Now, I've warned that the time frames of September 30th to October 5th are highly volatile. I said something major is going to happen between October 1st and October 3rd. I don't make predictions often. I've made 2 in the last 2 years, and they both happened, one almost to the hour. October 1st, October 3rd. Watch out. I think that that's when the regional war is going to break out. Iran's going to get involved with what's happening in the Middle East. Also, you got to keep an eye on Turkey and Egypt, because they could enter this against Israel, which means that the United States would now have to get involved with another NATO country. That could be big. Activist warns of migrant gang war on South Side. Chicago will go up in flames. Tyrone Muhammad, former gang member turned activist, sounds the alarm on rising tensions between Venezuelan gangs and local Chicago gangs. As migrants flood the South Side, residents fear violent crashes are imminent. When black gangs get fed up, Chicago will go up in flames. Locals are outraged as resources flow to migrants while their own communities struggle. We're about to have a whole U.S. city become a war zone. And the Venezuelans aren't stopping. They're continuing to push in deep into these cities like they are doing in Aurora and Denver, Colorado, and New York City. They have massive crime syndicates spread throughout this country already. It's going to take a hell of a lot to eradicate this country of that infestation, but I think we'll manage. Today, something interesting happened. And again, nobody's fucking talking about it. Remember yesterday, I told you about Ryan Ralph's letter? That Ryan Ralph apparently wrote that letter, that handwritten letter, months before he tried to assassinate Donald Trump. That's right. According to the DOJ, they said the letter written by would-be assassin Ryan Ralph apologizing for not killing Trump and offering reward was written months before the attempted assassination attempt. Remember what I told you yesterday? Is you will find out Ryan Ralph did not write that letter. Ryan Ralph did not write that fucking letter. I'm not sticking up for this guy, but I'm telling you that he is a patsy fall guy. Today, Ryan Ralph was charged with attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Interesting enough, Judge Eileen Cannon, who saw the Mar-a-Lago leak information with Jack Smith and everything for Donald Trump, will be presiding over this case. I'm actually kind of happy about that, because hopefully she's going to bring about a fair trial and ask for a discovery session where all the evidence and information gets to come in. And when the FBI begins feeding false and bullshit information like this letter that Ralph didn't write, Ralph would most likely talk. If I was Ralph and I was being hung out to dry and now I'm facing a lifetime sentence in prison, do you think he would talk? Absolutely. And they're afraid that he's going to talk to Judge Cannon. He's going to talk to various different Florida authorities. So what did we see happen today? Well, isn't it interesting that the son of Ryan Ralph was arrested today for child pornography? Orrin Ralph was taken into custody after investigation found hundreds of child porn files on his Galaxy Note during a search of his North Carolina residence over the weekend. The review of the SD card located on device 1 revealed that it contained hundreds of child pornography files. Prosecutors wrote in the criminal complaint, according to the ABC News, these files include videos of the known child pornography series created outside of the state of North Carolina. Orrin Ralph will appear in court on Tuesday on federal charges of possessing child pornography. The timing of this is impeccable, isn't it? I mean, firstly, the MO that we're talking about here, he's got a Samsung Galaxy, and in his files folder, which nobody ever looks at or uses, they find tons of child porn files. What? That was a tactic used 20 years ago, okay? 20 years ago, when it was incredibly difficult to go onto a website, right, and watch porn. What they would do is they would download the files, or they would download them from various sources. These people can access this stuff on websites through password and login information, okay? And most of them are honeypotting operations. But the MO that this is in a device -1 folder on a Samsung Galaxy tells me that that was planted. Now, why would his son have planted child pornography on his phone on the same day he's criminally indicted with an assassination attempt on Donald Trump? They don't want him to talk, do they? They don't want Ryan Routh to talk. So they're threatening his son. And I'm pretty sure they went to him and said, you wrote that letter. You're going to do everything we say. And you will never talk about how you were funded. They are shutting up Ryan Routh by arresting his son and threatening his son, people. And nobody is making this connection anywhere. But I will say it right now. Ryan Routh did not kill himself. I'm going to state it. Ryan Routh did not kill himself. I'd say that guy's got about 2 weeks before he's found Epstein in his cell. Just saying. Because think about it. How does a divorced man who owns a failing roofing company travel all around the country to recruit former Afghan fighters to go fight in Ukraine at $2,500 a month? How does he have $150,000 to even give away? Reason being because he has a direct association with the Azov battalion in Ukraine. Was accepted as a mercenary fighter by Ukraine, which is their military is ran by nobody else but the CIA. And so he was a CIA operative. From what we're getting is that there are close ties and connections that can probably fit him in there. It would be interesting to see what his court documents reveal when they start pulling his tax returns and his 1099s to see who was paying him and where his money was coming from. When they start tracking his various bank accounts and see where that money's coming from, because that's all going to come out in court in Judge Cannon's court in Florida. So we could see some interesting things happening here. Now, Matt Gaetz was on Benny yesterday, and he discussed more in detail of the 5 assassination teams. I want you to listen to this.
I think there are only 5. There are 5 teams that were known by our government to have been hunting Trump pre-Butler. That may be a very different number today. Matter of fact, that number could have increased or shrunk, right? For all we know, by today, they've neutralized one of the teams or one of the individuals involved in these efforts. But to hear that one of them is Ukrainian, and then you see this guy show up, who, by the way, was on the radar of Homeland Security investigations, because when he enters the country, the very smart and astute folks at Customs and Border Patrol, think about that. Your Customs and Border Patrol, your agency has been totally overrun, you're exhausted, and yet they have the wherewithal to say, this doesn't make sense. This guy's been all over the world.
Wow. They kicked me out. All right, I think we're back. I did pause it. Hopefully we can reconnect here.
People, and when we ask them a reasonable question, who's funding your efforts to like recruit people from Taiwan and Afghanistan to go fight in Ukraine.
Iran.
Who's funding that? And the answer is, oh, my wife's paying for it. Like, that story didn't exactly check out. Like, you and I both have very successful wives that we're very proud of, but I don't think they'd pay for a hobby quite like this. And so when that goes to HSI, no activity, no action, no review. And now it emerges that one of the teams we knew about hunting Trump had a Ukraine connection.
There's multiple amounts of teams here in the United States that are going to attempt to take out Donald Trump. Just saying. Not only that, is they are going to try to produce absolute fucking chaos. Did you notice? Did anybody hear about this today? U.S. Capitol hit by large-scale dark web cyber attack. Passwords leaked through staffers signing up for adult websites and dating apps. Over 3,000 congressional staffers' personal information has been leaked across the dark web in a wide-scale cyber attack on the Capitol. Switzerland-based security firm Proton discovered 1,800 passwords used by staffers at the Capitol are available on the dark web. An investigation, Proton, along with the United States-based firm Constella Intelligence, revealed 1 in 5 congressional staffers had personal information exposed on the dark web. In the report Proton shared, the leaks made their way to the dark web through several scores, such as adult websites, social media, and dating apps. And by the way, if you didn't realize, senior staffers run the government. Congressmen don't have time to read bills and do research. They're too busy getting campaign funds, chasing the money. It's the staffers that do all the work, and they're the ones that tell the congressmen how to vote. With that being said, our country has been massively infiltrated, people. It is incredibly scary to look at how infiltrated we actually are, and how crazy it is that our country is able to even continue moving forth with some level of functioning government when we have China, Russia, Iran, Israel, the globalist billionaires, nonprofits, non-government organizations running our government, running politicians like puppets. Now, I've said that various factions are being eliminated. One of those connective factions that are being eliminated, and reason why probably China has an assassination team here in the United States of America for Donald Trump, is New York City and the connectivity to New York City. We've seen in recent years Senator Feinstein's connection to a Chinese spy who was her driver for 30 years. Eric Swalwell, representative in Congress, slept with Fang Fang, a Chinese spy. We're seeing more and more connections between various other politicians, especially at the state and local level. Governor Walz, who's the VP candidate for Kamala Harris, has 5 different trips to China and has various different funding that has came from foreign entities, including China, that came at around a time where bills were passed that benefit those countries specifically. Today, a judge in Orange County, New York, killed himself right at the moment that FBI agents were at his home to arrest him in connection to corruption cases. This is another New York City, New York official that is being investigated for corruption. Now, the one thing behind all of this, if you remember, the former assistant chief of staff to Governor Hochul in California was just arrested 2 weeks ago for being a Chinese fucking spy. Immediately after, the New York City Police Commissioner was detained, arrested, had his house searched, has now resigned, along with other people associated with Mayor Adams, were all detained and arrested by the FBI in an investigation of corruption, internal corruption. But that corruption, which you're not hearing, stems and directs to China. Chinese police stations, the Chinese illegal circuits operating in New York City, including human trafficking operations. Now, the FBI has expanded its investigation in the New York City Mayor Eric Adams' 2021 campaign over suspicious foreign ties to at least 6 countries, including China. people, we got to rid foreign influence out of our country. That's really what it comes down to, is there is too much external foreign influence in our country. We need to implement a constitutional amendment on how campaign finance laws operate. And they should be just this. Anybody running for office can only take political campaign donations through their constituents. No party to party money, no PACs money, none of that. Only from their constituents. $250 max from each constituent in a district. The total amount of people in that district is the equivalent amount total that all candidates can raise. If any candidate raises more than the total amount in that district, there's an investigation. And this is also a hedge against voter fraud. The reason being is because if there's two candidates, a Democrat and a Republican, that are in a district that have, let's just say, $5 million worth of total money that can be raised, and one raises $3 million and the other raises $1.2 million, but the person that raises $1.2 million wins the election, there's a problem there because more people donated to the other guy's campaign. And so this gives way to look at these elections and say, hey, there's something wrong here. I think that would be a smart move, by the way. Now, October surprise, we don't know what it's going to be. We know October 17th is going to be an important date pertaining to UFO investigation information. Apparently, this is the same time that the Senate is supposed to have their hearing, and we know the Vatican is supposedly supposed to be releasing some information in and around that time. I saw this article, and it was quite interesting, so I wanted to pull it up. Caught on camera, a satellite tracker photographs secret spacecraft. He says, in the hush-hush secret world of space-based satellites, few details are publicly available. The groups like the U.S. Space Force, National Reconnaissance Office, Central Intelligence Agency, all will not release that information. There's an armada of classified spacecraft assigned an array of vigilant duties. Some intercept radio waves, detect missile launches, whatever it might be. These high-flying satellites are tempting targets for amateur astrophotographers. Recently, a photographer by the name of recently, an amateur photographer caught this image, which is placed into a GIF on camera. Now, the interesting thing about this satellite that he's picturing is it's not what it's labeled or meant to be. What they believe it is the Future Imagery Architecture radar, also called TOPAZ. There are 5 U.S. spy satellites that carry synthetic aperture arrays, SARs, for imaging. This technology can see through clouds, works at night and day. There are successors of the La Crosse Onyx series of SAR satellites. So this is supposed to be one of those, but it's not. And they don't know what this thing is that is 16 feet long. Now, what is that thing in orbit around our planet that this person captured? I don't know. It's 16 feet long, by the way. 16 feet long. I can't zoom in any further. This is posted on my X account. There you go. For those looking to see it. Now, interesting enough is that today we find out that the Ministry of Defense of Canada has released images of that object that was shot down during the whole Chinese balloon saga. Now, first images of UFO shot down over Alaska released. Canada has unveiled the first ever images of the UFO down during a joint U.S.-Canada mission in February 2023. The grainy photo shows a circular white object shot down by the U.S. Air Force F-22 fighter jet. Military officials have classified the object as cylindrical craft with a 20-foot wire hanging below it. The release adds mystery to the espionage-linked tinted UFO activity linked to earlier Chinese spy satellite sagas. But I'll tell you one thing, that is not a spy satellite. And so I believe what was happening during that time is the spy satellites weren't really spy satellites. They were just launched as a distraction from you stopping looking in the sky because something else was actually in the sky. And probably one of those things was shot down. Who knows? We don't. We will soon find out, though, because the best is truly yet to come, because humanity is not going to give up the fight, people. We're not going to stop. We're going to fight for freedom. We're going to fight for what's right. We're going to fight to make sure that the United States of America lives on. We're going to fight to ensure that our children and our grandchildren have a place to call home, freedom, and a constitution, and the same rights and freedoms and liberties that you and I had and what the founding fathers originally intended. I just threw some links in the chat there. If you need some prepper supplies, go to redpills.tv/patriot. If you need some of our immune modulating mushrooms, which are absolutely fucking fantastic, redpills.tv/mushrooms. And you can just visit us on our website, redpills.tv. If you want to go out there and help support us in any way, shape, or form, there are various different support links that I am putting in the chats right now. We have paypal.com. So you can go to paypal.me/redpills.tv. givesendgo.com/redpills, or Cash App, cash.app/money_redpillproject. Guys, we appreciate all your support over the years and tonight. Much love, respect. God bless you guys. You guys take care. Have a great night. I will see you guys again tomorrow. Good night.
Boone, that's impossible. Only try to realize the truth.
What truth?
There is no spoon.